Hey, good morning, and today on another episode of Old Soldier Welding, I'm going to make you a new and improved rose. Now, the last time I made a rose, it was with 3 different sections, hammered it out, pretty simple. It's made out of a little bit thicker material than what we're working with today. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to show you all the different supplies that I'm working with, what I've already pre-made, what I haven't, and I'm going to work you through it. It's all going to be one long video, no editing, so there's going to be a lot of cursing, a few fuck-ups, shit like that. Anyway, I'm going to pick up the camera. Now, mind you, I'm using the front-facing camera, so everything is flipped backwards. I'm not going to swap it out the other way, because it's been a long time since I made a video, and frankly, yeah, I'm just doing that. So, starting off here, these are the patterns that I have created, and they're basically petal sets. It's currently a 6-step process, going from smaller to larger, and it goes 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, so on and so forth, so that you can get a nice variation of the petals. Once you actually make it and they're all folded up, it's going to look a lot like this. However, this one's not finished. This one still needs the heat where we pull the petals apart. I need to add some leaves to it and give it a little bit of, I don't know, life to the stem, because roses don't have perfectly straight stems. Now, for the leaves, what I have done on the plasma cutter, I've created this shape right here. What I end up doing is I end up bending it like this. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a curve to it, a little bit of a curve to the back part of the stem of the leaf, and that will eventually go onto the main stem of the rose. That main stem will get welded and ground down, and it'll be nice and pretty. What else we are working with here? A pair of welpers, or welding pliers, spring-loaded, because that's going to come in handy later, not only when we're welding, but when we want to bend those petals out. I modified a set of vice grips, and I cut 2 pieces of pipe, put them in there, and that's going to give us our general rounded profile when we're bending all of these petals. It comes in really useful. Instead of having to use 2 hands to be able to bend everything around, it just does it really quick, one quick smush, and we're wherever you want to be. Next, I have a piece of 1/4 inch round rod. I picked 1/4 inch round rod because for me it's easy enough to work with. I made sure that all of my pieces already have a 1/4 inch hole pre-burned into them. That's why they sit on these pegs right here. And length is between 12 to 18 inches long. It just seems to be a nice workable size. You can always make it shorter, but you can't make it longer. Well, I mean, technically you can. We're welding here. But, that's a pain in the ass. Here we have a full set. I've already stacked them up to the smaller ones to the larger ones. We got the 2 petals that we're going to be using. The 1/4 inch round rod. We're going to be using a Miller 255. I'm currently set to 22.4 volts, 293 inches a minute. The gas we're going to be using is C25 or 7525 argon CO2. Let's see here. I do have safety glasses. They're up here. I will be wearing gloves. I will grab the air as well, because I use a 90-degree grinder to be able to get little speckles and spackles off of the petals after I weld them on. And that's about it. So I'm going to try and get you set up over here on this table, and then adjust this down so that you can see what I'm doing right here with my hands with this rose. So step 1, I'm going to go ahead, put on some gloves, because I'm a Sally and it's cold out and I don't want to hurt myself. We're going to take the stem, put it in the vise, clamp it down. We're going to take the ground to the welder, clamp it on. First petal, we're going to take the stinger or lead, put this right here on the top, and we're just going to make a few spot welds to be able to hold this in place. Alright, now that that's on, this is where we're going to need a little bit of a grinding action. Now, I don't have the air built up yet, so I'm not going to use this. I'm going to go with the overpowered grinder. Give me a second. Alright, and now you get to see the first use of these customized vice grips. I'm going to go to each pedal and just squish it. Once I do that, I'm going to go to the next one. Now, the hardest part on the small one is that they do end up touching the other pedals as we're making this original bend. It's okay, you can end up moving it back, tighten it, loosen it, move it around, see whatever works for you. Alright, now that we've got an initial bend on these, I'm going to redo this first one again, and second one. We're going to go ahead and fold them up kind of like a fan blade. We're going to go one then the next. We're going to go up one right here, give a little bit of a twist. Same thing for the next one and the next one. I'll go ahead and bring the camera in on this one in just a second so you can see about what I'm doing. I'm getting a nice little circular pattern on that. So I go ahead and get that. Let me see, am I pointing in the right direction? I am. Excuse it if it's a little bit out of focus. And I'm just going to work it up until it's nice and tight. Now, you will notice these pedals are now sticking out all sorts of wibbly wobbly like the fan blades in a turbo. What we're going to do is we're going to use this part of the vise. We're going to beat them down just like we did on the last set. Got a hammer right here, and I'm just going to go ahead and give them a little bit of a love tap on each one of them. And I'm going to be working it into a nice tight little core. We all like it nice and tight like a tiger. So, now this one is the most difficult of all the pedals because it's the tightest bend for all of them. It does take the longest, so don't get discouraged if you're sitting there and you're fighting them and they don't seem to be bending in and they're not really working with you here. Just go to each pedal and beat it down. Alright, now bring it back up. You're going to see that we're nice and tight, wrapped around itself. It doesn't have to be perfect. The whole idea of this is you're just trying to get it a little bit more compressed than it was before. I'm going to get a few more little love taps on a couple of them. Alright, now we're going to go for the second set of pedals. Now as you saw, we took the first one and we set it directly on top. This next one, we're going to go ahead and slide it up the bottom. Turning it over, we're welding on the back side. So I'll go ahead, figure out what I did with the, oh, there it is, the lead. Set it back down on here. And I'm just going to give it a few spot welds. Alright, now that we got those spot welds on there, we're going to go ahead and put it back in the vise. Utilizing the vise grip again, we're going to go ahead and smush each one of these pedals. Click. 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 Now the tighter you make them, the easier it'll be later on. Depending on how deep you go on the pedal itself, will let you know, about how much contour you're going to get to each one of these pedals. Nice and tight. There we go. Now, again, we're just going to go ahead and fold them up, one after the other, Last one, just sneak it on in there. You can do a lot of this forming. Now mind you, I'm using 16 gauge steel. This is pretty malleable as far as doing it with your hands. As you can see right here, didn't have to hammer it. Got it pretty tight, but I am going to give it a little bit of love just to get a little bit better. It does pay off in the end in order to do that. Now one thing you didn't see me do is any extra grinding on this. It's not really important. You're never going to see the back side or the inside of this. So, now that we've gotten that second pedal set on there, third pedal set. Slide it at the bottom. Put it on here. Grab the lead. A few different little welds, little spots, just at the base. Now on that one I did get a few extra berries sitting on the pedals. As you can see, I don't really like those. I am going to use the grinder, and I'm going to clean them off camera. Now, realistically, you probably wouldn't ever see those. I'm just doing it because I guess maybe I'm a little anal retentive about some things, just not everything. Go back in with our magical vice grip, and we'll give each pedal a bend. Now, after I'm done with this one, before I fold them up, I'm going to go ahead and bring it closer to the camera so you can see a little bit better of the profile that this particular tool that I made is doing for it. Squish. Nice squish right there. Loosen this up, rotate it around. And mind you, this is taking me a little bit longer. I'm setting it up so you guys can see it. Realistically, if you're just cranking these out, you can crank out one in about 10 minutes. Alright, so as you can see, each one of these pedals already have a nice little curve to them. It's not important that they're all, weeble wobbly, because we're going to take it right from here, take the first one, and fold it up. We're going to follow it with the next one, and fold it up. And again, next, working them in as we go. Now this last one, you need to tuck it in, so you're going to go ahead and rotate it. Rotate, and then press it up on in there, giving you that nice little round area. Right now it kind of looks like a poppy, but we're going to go ahead and just smash it in our hands. As you smash it, working around a couple times, you see that it came in a little bit more love with the hammer. And I put it right here in this little nook of the vise. It keeps it from bouncing around. I'm not just using the flat space. Alright, time for the next set of pedals. Now if you're wondering what it's looking like on the inside or right there where I'm welding it, that's all I'm really doing. Just a few little tacks. I'm not trying to go too hot. I don't want to burn this metal and melt it. It is giving me these little bits of spackle. You can use anti-spatter spray and clean all that off in between each one, but really you don't need to. Again, I'm going to go ahead and clean these off. I do apologize for the amount of noise, but without the video editing, I'm not going to be able to make it much nicer for you. So again, we're going to go ahead, get each one of these pedals with its primary curve. Now before, I used to do this with two different set of pliers, right? I would take each one, put them on the side, bend them up, go to the next one, bend it up and work it. I found that it took a lot of time. It was extra tools that I needed to have in the area, which was a little bit of a pain in the ass. I was using vice grips. They weren't comfortable to work with. And I wanted a way to be able to reproduce it to where they're always the same. That way, if somebody wanted to order a rose and then they wanted another one, I could guarantee that they'd be much more uniform. So, now we got all those bent. Again, folding them up, one after the other. And tuck that last one in. Take it out of the vise. Go ahead, give it a little bit of a love tap. Now, some of the better artisans will texture every single petal. I don't really see the point, because once I have them all wrapped up, you won't be able to see inside on each one of the petals. We will, however, utilizing oxyacetylene, give it a little bit of that final flair. So again, we're going, systematically larger sets of petals. And I'm going to go ahead and weld that on. Tack weld. Tack weld. Guess it? Yep, that's right. Tack weld. Alright. Hold on, gotta blow the dragon. As I said earlier, it's kind of cold out. My nose runs like a sieve when it's cold out. And go back to bending petals. Again, now this is where a single bend, I'm going to show two different versions of this. One where the vice grip is deeper in on the flower, and one where it's further out. Alright, the first one was further out. You see you have a little bit of a contour, but it kind of flattens out as it gets in deeper. The next one, I took the vice grips and I put them in deeper, and it gives you more of a curve down at the base. This is personal preference, whichever way you want to go. I haven't really cared as far as which one I'm doing specifically, as long as I just get a nice little bend to them. As the petals get larger, you might even work it out from doing a deeper bend right here, and then coming out and doing it so that you have something easier to work with. I just try and stay about center on the petal, and that gives a good enough bend to it. Now, it's important for me to let you understand these petal sets. I utilize my plasma cutter and burn them out. Created the program in Fusion 360. It is a really simple, I took a circle and then made equal sections inside of it, and then I went ahead and burned it out. You can buy these sets on, I want to say Etsy, maybe even eBay. If you contact me, I can send you a set if you want to do this as a craft at the house. I do make them, I'll sell them to you. Cost of material plus shipping. I'm not trying to make any money off of it. This is not what I get my pay from. This is more for gifts and stuff just to make the wife happy. So this rose is going to go to the wife. I'm doing this because I love her. She treats me well. She feeds me, which is always important. Guys, remember, the easiest way to your heart is through your stomach or your chest if they're using this giant steak knife. So we're going to go ahead and put the last one on. Now on the last one, it is important about those berries. Now I'm also making sure that I do all the spot welds all the way around, because I don't want to see any opening on the back side. So, as you can see, I welded all the way around it. And now I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick grind as well. Alright. Final set of petals to be bent. Now on these ones you can actually give it a couple extra bends out on the edges. They are a larger pedal. You know, they progressively get bigger, which should be pretty obvious. So I just give it a little squeeze. I don't, tension it all the way down. But this will make it slightly easier for me later on when I want to go ahead and fold them up. I don't have to worry about any of the ends sticking out too straight. Now, again, I don't know if you noticed in the video or if you've been able to see it, but it's gone where it had 6 pedals, 5 pedals, 6 pedals, 5 pedals. I do try and overlap the pedal over an opening inside, so if you have a seam right here, you want a pedal to cover it. It doesn't always work out, but for the most part, it can benefit your final product. So go ahead, get the last bend right there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and fold these up. And tuck this last one in. Come out here, giving it a little bit of a love tap. Alright, so far we've got a whole lot of pedals. They got progressively bigger, and if you see, they also stick up a little bit higher. I made it like that so that when these pedals fold out, it's going to give it more of a natural bloomed rose. Now, I'm going to set this to the side, right here. I'm going to go ahead and give these here leaves a quick bend. I'm going to figure out what I just did with those vice grips. Yep, they're right in front of me. I'm going to bend the back side of the stem. I'm going to go ahead and tighten them up a lot more for that. Just to give it the initial curvature. As you see, a little bit, not a whole lot. Do the same thing on the next one. Then I'm going to go to the pedal itself and give it a nice little bend in the middle. As you can see, a little bit of a curve, not a whole lot. Now, some of the artisans will sit there and hammer strike and get the striations on the leaves. I'm not that kind of artisan. I do metal fabrication. It'll be okay. It'll work the way I want it to work. Again, this is a little bit harder. I'm actually pressing down. I'll try and show it up here to be able to get enough tension to get a little bit of bend. I got to put it down lower. All right. Now once they're like this, I'm going to bend it back. So that way you have a little bit of a curve that's going to go against the stem and the pedal itself. Now we're going to use heat to do the final bend on these things. Get this one a little bit of a bend too. As I said, pretty malleable steel. So here comes the heat. Now what we're going to do is put it in the vise. The tools we're going to be using are a rosebud oxyacetylene. Not the cutting torch, this is just the one that's going to put out a nice big flame, and our whelpers. I'm going to come in here, heat the top, working from the outside in. And I'm going to go ahead and bend these out, get them all nice and pretty. The reason why I'm doing this right now before putting on the leaves is because I still want this inside the vise. So, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this thing turned on. Let me see here, turn off the oxygen, turn off the fuel. Set it right there. Hope I don't let it fall. Turning on my acetylene, 1/4 turn. Oxygen all the way open. Start the rosebud. A little bit of fuel. Let that run for a second. I got like a 30-foot line. All right. A little bit of fuel. Turn it up. Oop, that didn't work too well. Let's go ahead and strike that again. Turn the fuel down. Now we want a blue flame. We don't want a yellow one. Ooh, that's bright. Sunglasses go on. Now, I do apologize for how bright this is in the video. But I'm going to go ahead and burn this rose. Pretty cool, huh? You see all the fire coming up here and stuff? Now, what I'm doing is I'm just heating up these petals on the top and in the core. This is going to get the entire thing pretty warm, so by the time we get to the inside, the petals will get to bend really, really easy. Now, I'm using a needle nose set of Whelpers. I'm going to do slight little tears on each of these petals. I might even come up from the underside, heat this up a little bit. There we go. Show you that getting nice and warm. Not sure if you guys can see it on the video yet, but I'm starting to get a little bit of redness, a little bit of a glow right there. I'll turn that down so you can see it. And start with this petal right here. And just give it a little bend out, little flare. I could turn this up, do a little bit faster, but then it starts getting really loud in here. For the sake of the video, I know you're probably thinking, oh my god, that wood cabinet's going to catch on fire. No, trust me, it would if it was going to do it, I would have already done it. Probably not the safest location to be doing what I'm doing, but you work with what you got, right? Get a couple bends, and you start just working it through. I keep getting a little bit of a buildup on the torch, which is interesting. I think I've got a little bit of crap in my lines. So the great thing about doing this particular step is there is no wrong answer. There's no way that you can do anything that's going to be like, oh, I fucked it up. There's nothing about it is going to be like, oh, you did it wrong. The whole idea is, with nature, you have that randomness to it. And I really enjoy, what ends up coming of it. Each rose is slightly different. And you just keep nipping back and forth. Now, right here, I'm going to go ahead and get this nice and hot on the inside. It's pretty cool how the fire just keeps pouring out of the rose. Luckily, it's cold out right now, which is the reason why I decided to do it today instead of, on the days that it's 120 degrees. Going around again, bending out little bits of the petals. Core is nice and hot right now, so I can go ahead and bend a lot of these out one at a time. Coming back in through here. Pretty cool. The metal is still on fire as I'm doing this. So sometimes I'm grabbing it, I'm just doing a little bit of a twist. I want these petals to be slightly imperfect so that it gives it a neat, natural look to it. So now that I've got those pretty much all beat up, I'm going to go ahead and kill the flame. Boom! And see how we're getting a little weird buildup on that? It's crazy. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the gas to my torch. Turn off the oxygen. Now, while this rose is still really hot, I'm going to step outside real quick and quench it. Purpose of that is just to shock all of that carbon off of there. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, I shocked it, I quenched it. It was black as can be. Now it's got a nice little metal sheen to it. It is wet. Not too big of a concern. Next step, we're going to go ahead and weld these leaves on there. I'm going to bring this stem up a little bit higher than what we had it before. I'm going to go ahead and take that stem, that base piece, and give it a little bit of a love tap to give it slightly more contour, as you can see, so that I can place it on here. And there's no specific location you need to put those. I'm going to put 2 of them on here. One here, one maybe a little bit lower. I weld it on the inside. Now, this one you are welding all the way around. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. Now, I'm not looking at it while I'm doing this. I'm looking away. So I'm just doing little spot welds. Alright, I got the first leaf on there. Go ahead and pull this off, get you a little bit better view. It's welded on. And the reason why I do that is I'm also going to grind this. And that grind is going to make it look as if it's actually coming around the stem and coming out of it. Take a little bit of the hammer love. Give it a little bit of the profile of it actually being connected. I can open up the vise. Put the pedal on there. Using the ball peen side of my hammer. Give a little bit more curve. As you can see, a little bit of a curve there. And I'm going to go ahead and fold it up just a little bit to get it out of the way right now. I'm going to take it to the grinder, smooth out that edge.